Interviewing isn't just asking a bunch of questions and writing down a bunch of answers. Here at HR Ready, we are here to support you with everything to do with people. And this week, we're talking about interviewing. I'm going to give you 5 tips to the art of effective interviewing because hiring the right talent is essential for driving your business's growth and success. And conducting really good interviews right at the beginning is a critical step in that process, allowing you to assess candidates' experience, skills, and their fit for the role and the organisation. So the first tip for you is preparation. Prepare thoroughly. Before interviewing anyone, take the time to look at their CV, their cover letter, and any other application materials that you might have asked for. Making sure that you're familiar with the job description and the key requirements of the role before you interview them is also really, really important because it will help you ask relevant questions and assess those people properly. Think about creating standard questions that everybody gets asked for consistency and, you guessed it, fairness. Making sure that everyone who is being interviewed understands what's going to happen at each stage of the process is also just a great thing to do. The second tip is to focus on behavioural questions. So behavioural or competency questions are a standard. They're designed to give specific examples of a candidate's past experience and behaviours. It kind of gives you an insight of how they're going to perform in certain situations with certain stressors. Instead of asking hypothetical or theoretical questions, what would you do if? Ask them a question like, can you give me an example of a time when you have done this? It will help you to see how they've handled those situations. And if those skills or that experience is important to the role, you want to know whether they can handle it. Tip number 3 is about active listening. Really good interviewing involves active listening to understand candidates' responses fully. Don't interrupt, don't rush candidates through their answer. Give them the opportunity to articulate their experiences and their perspectives. But also that active listening means that you're paying attention to the verbal cues, but also the non-verbal cues, like their body language, their tone of voice, and their communication style. With that, you'll be able to see how engaging they are, how much enthusiasm they have for the role, but also how suitable they might be. And don't be afraid to ask more questions if the answer that they've given you isn't quite enough, or rephrase the question if you feel like they're struggling. And you can only find those things out by active listening. Tip number 4 is about assessing cultural fit. In addition to the skills and qualifications and their behaviours, the other thing to look at is their cultural fit within the organisation and the team. So this is not about whether they're the same gender or any of the other protected characteristics. This is about values, work ethic, communication style, and a compatibility with the company culture, what you're looking for, what you see your vision of your brand to be. Ask questions that think about their attitudes, their motivations, and how they see themselves being connected with the mission and the vision and the core values of the organisation. You might ask, how do you approach teamwork and collaboration? You might be looking for somebody who is very team-oriented, who brings people together, or somebody who is more passive and sits in the background. Think about the management style of the person who's going to be managing them. Is that going to connect? Your 5th and final tip is about following up promptly. After an interview, follow up fairly quickly with a candidate to provide some feedback and next steps. Give them some information about the status of their application and any further steps that you're going to go through. Do try to give some constructive feedback to anyone who's unsuccessful. Those people have been through perhaps 2 or 3 interviews with you. Maybe they spent 2 or 3 hours on their job application, and any constructive feedback that you can give will really help them the next time that they're applying for a different role. You might be able to tell them some things that they could do to improve, or, some encouragement for any other opportunities that might be within your business. And if you're clear and you have good communication with those candidates, it demonstrates your professionalism as well as for your business, and gives them a positive candidate experience, which they will tell other people. Now, the interview process is an important way to figure out whether people are right for you and your culture, and just spending a little bit of time preparing and asking the right questions to get those things out of the candidates is going to make it much better for you in the long run for your business.